Okie dokie, boys and girls, it is day 2 of calisthenics endurance, and today we have our first leg day. However, it's gonna be quite different from a normal leg day that I used to do on the bulk because, well, my goals have changed. And today I want to talk about how I set my goals and how I plan to achieve them, or how I go about achieving my goals. And so the main goal for this calisthenics endurance journey at the moment is an ultra marathon, which I'm gonna run in March in Japan. It's not like a special event, but I'm just gonna run this cycling road called Shimanami Kaido, and it's about 70 to 80 kilometers long, I believe, and it's further than I've ever run before. It's a big goal and it's quite daunting, because at the moment I cannot even think about it. So how do I, plan to achieve this goal? How do I go about it, right? Because when you have such a big goal, it's often like difficult to know where you have to start. And what I try to do in general, whether it's for this goal but also for the goals in the bulk, is I try to split it up as much as possible. So I kind of just think about, if I want to ever achieve this goal, what should I do? In the case of the ultra marathon, it's quite simple. I have to run more. So then I think about, how can I start running more? And when I kind of calculate it backwards, I come to the conclusion that, hey, I should just increase my daily distance. So for the past couple of months, I've been running 5 kilometers a day. My first goal is to just start running 10 kilometers a day. So this morning I ran 10 kilometers. That's kind of the first day, like the first part of today's leg day, right? But the first goal is to run those 10 kilometers daily. But even if I think about that, like run 10 kilometers every day for 3 months, it's quite heavy. It's like, can I do that, right? I can't see that much into the future. So I split it up even more, and I think about, I can run 10 kilometers every day, perhaps for 2 weeks. I can see what happens then, right? And then that just becomes my main focus. And then you can split it up even further. Okay, 2 weeks. That means that I have to run for an entire week, 2 weeks on an end. So let's start with a week. Let's start with a day. Let's start with 2 days, right? So today I got out of bed and the goal was to run 10 kilometers. And, of course, it's, 10 kilometers is nothing compared to the 70 kilometers that I'm going to run in March, but it's the first step. And, when it comes to your goals, no matter what goal you have, if you split it up enough, eventually it becomes one day, it becomes one training, it becomes one set or one rep, or in my case, one step, because you can take it to an even bigger extreme, right? My goal is to get out of bed and do a 10-kilometer run. Well, I can split it up in 1 kilometer. I can take it 1 kilometer at a time. I can take it one step at a time, in a literal sense. And it might sound stupid, but when you split up your goal enough and you celebrate the little successes, I feel like that's when you can really, on the long term, achieve big things. When you're not always focused on the distant future, but rather on what you can do right now. So that's kind of how I go about setting my goals. I set my goals big, but I don't set a deadline. I just, set something out that I want to achieve. I want to be a better runner. I do that by the means of trying to run an ultramarathon. And then in order to achieve it, I just split it up as much as possible. But in order to, get there, we have to focus on a daily basis. And well, today, like I said, we have a leg day. Leg days are going to be quite different in the sense that I'm not going to go to my maximum anymore. I think the exercises, or I know the exercises, are going to be just the same, because the goal of the leg days right now is, of course, to just maintain strength. In order to run, you also need strength, like strong legs, so it would be stupid to not do any leg exercises anymore, but they're going to be a bit less intense. And basically, I feel like once a week I'll be just doing 3 sets of pistol squats and then 3 sets of Nordic curls, and then I'll have another leg day workout as well on Saturday or Sunday, but then I'll do something else. We'll get to that on Sunday, I guess. But for now, I'm gonna move on to pistol squats. I've already warmed up, and well, I hope I can do them, because I still have some pain in the side from the deadlifting accident. But if all goes to plan, today I'll be doing some light squats, 3 sets of 5 with 24 kilos, and then move on to Nordic curls. So let's go. Alright. Whew. That's gonna be it for the pistol squats today. And well, obviously, these don't feel super heavy, but that's kind of the point. I want to avoid going to absolute failure, because if I trash my legs with these pistol squats, I will be unable to trash my legs during the running. So 3 sets of 5, glad I completed it. 24 kilos, I'm hoping to go a bit heavier next time and to maintain a bit heavier next time. But today I was still being careful because of this thing in my side, you know. I want to train pain-free, so that's what I'm gonna do in the next exercise as well. That's gonna be Nordic curls. If I can do an actual unassisted Nordic curl without any pain, I'll be super happy, but I'm not gonna force it, you know. So I'm gonna do 3 sets of Nordic curls, and well, depending on the pain, it's gonna be pinky assisted or the actual thing, you know. So let's see what happens. Let's head outside. Alright, so the Nordic curl still hurts a little bit. Basically every time I have to do a bracing movement, like, how do I say it? Flex my core. It hurts, and also if I do any abrupt movements, there's a big chance of the pain shooting inside me as well. So in order to avoid it, I'm just gonna focus on doing the negative of the Nordic curl and then assisting myself up. But I'm happy that, you know, I'm able to get the full range of motion, and well, as soon as the pain is gone, I'll be able to maintain 3 sets of 5 for the Nordic curl, which that's fucking insane, right? When you think about it, that's my maintenance level, where it used to be at the start of the bulk, something I was only dreaming about. But anyway, it's like the same with this running stuff, you know. It's the same with the bulk as well. You know, this was once the stuff that I was dreaming about, but I split up the huge goal in smaller parts, in, well, 365 parts, because I bulked for an entire year. But every one of those days I just focused on doing what I was able to do and moving a small step forward, and well, it brought me here, so that's quite nice, you know. But anyway, 2 more sets, let's go. Okay, so those Nordic curls, they are still sensitive. I feel some pain doing them, especially when the movement has some momentum to it. But when it comes to training through pain, when you are injured and you're asking yourself, should I train or not? I think in general, it is good to keep moving even if you're injured. So of course you don't want to aggravate your injury, you don't want to make it worse, but as long as you are, training with manageable pain, let's say 3 out of 10, and you don't make the injury worse, and the pain is gone the next day, you're basically in the safe zone, right? If you're training through injury and you feel like even 2 days after the pain is worse than before, that's when you're doing too much. But when you get injured, your body learns that a certain movement causes you pain. But if you then completely stop moving, your body never has the opportunity to learn that the movement doesn't hurt anymore. So your body learns that a movement causes pain, but it can also learn that a movement is okay to do again. And if you move your body, like if you move, you will basically teach your body when the time is right that it can, go harder again. But that's it for today's training. And well, let's just say that a training like today causes less satisfaction than a general training where you go hard. People often say, like, training hard is difficult. Training hard is not the difficult part, because if you love training, most of us, we are addicted to the progress, right? We are addicted to putting in the effort and then seeing the results. So training hard gives us satisfaction, and that's why it's not hard to continue. But when it comes to these maintenance workouts, there is not really any progress to seek. That's the definition of maintenance, right? The definition of maintenance is that you're maintaining what you have and not making any progress. And well, basically, when you get addicted to results, these trainings about maintenance, they become very boring and tedious to do. But I think something that we like, a shift in the mindset that you can have is, don't get addicted to the result, but rather get addicted to the effort that you're putting in. Because even though it may seem like your training doesn't have an effect, or it doesn't have any results gained from it, right? It seems like you're doing it and you get nothing back. In reality, it's different, right? Because, for example, I've been running every day for 600 days or something like this, right? And especially in the last few months, I wasn't making any progress, right? I wasn't getting any faster. Instead, I was getting slower even, because I was going harder and harder on legs and I wasn't increasing my distance. And so why would I keep running? It's just maintenance, right? But even though I couldn't see any reason to do the running back then, or I couldn't see any result, right now when I am starting to run more, I can see the result from maintaining the running, because all of a sudden, even though I increase the distance, I can see that I already have an efficient running form. So it does have meaning. And in the same way, even though this maintenance training, it doesn't have a direct effect, or it won't have a result in me getting stronger in the pistol squat, but it does have an effect in the sense that I am maintaining my advantage of having strong legs, or at least strong for a runner, right? That's an advantage. And doing this maintenance training will allow me to keep that advantage, and therefore allow me to get better in running as well. So the result might be invisible, but it's still there. And that's what's the most important part. That's why, sometimes we should not get addicted to the result, but rather to the effort that we're putting in, trusting ourselves that it will make a difference. But yeah, that's it for today's training. Very happy with how it went in that sense, especially happy with the fact that I was able to do the pistol squats and kind of the Nordic rolls, despite the pain in my side. But, I guess it will heal soon, and then we can, go a little bit crazier than today. But yeah, that's it. I'm gonna head downstairs and have some dinner, and I'll see you tomorrow for a skill day.